Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Reload Podcast, along with Nathan Gilsleider and Marshall Scott. Justin Southwell has returned. I'm back. You know it's bad if I can push through most sickness and be on the podcast. It's got to be bad for me to be out. So that was the worst of it, worst of the worst. But I made it through. We're back. Not 100% yet, but I'm grinding through. We're back. Let's go.
Yeah, you had that one pod where you were able to say like 3 words because you were so sick. So whenever you were like, I don't know that I could pod tonight, I was like, oh, this guy's really not feeling that well.
Yeah. Let's dive right in. Got some stuff to talk about for you. Of course, we got to hit on football. A lot of stuff happening in the off season. We've got some women's basketball stuff, softball, baseball, and then we got something a little special that we'll end it with.
Yeah, should we tease that now?
I'm going to tease it.
Should we say what it is now? Give them something to look forward to.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing a draft. It's the off season.
Doing a draft.
It's the off season. We've already run out of ideas. The draft topic today. I'm just kidding. The draft topic today. A 7-on-7 team of Mike Gundy era players. And by 7-on-7, that means we're technically drafting 6 guys because we're not going to draft a center. So yeah, we're each going to draft a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end. And then we'll
and then Grant Garner is the all-time center for all of our teams.
There we go. It works itself out. So yeah, that's what we'll do towards the end of this. And I think it'll be a lot of fun.
We got that. Of course, you guys did a great job. Last week, I missed out on the wrestling review. Well done, guys. And well done to the wrestlers. So it's a good listen.
50-50 effort. Guys. 50-50 effort who pushed through the most, us or the wrestlers. But
yeah, exactly. All right, now we're going to do the wide receiver position group this week because a couple weeks ago we did the quarterbacks, running backs. Now we're at receivers positions. A lot more new names that you'll want to know as we're heading into the spring game here in a couple of weeks. And with the transfer portal going crazy, a lot of new names, a lot of new faces, a lot of new numbers. Who are we going to look out for? So I'm going to tee it off with that. And Marshall, I know that you got something on pistols firing as well for the listeners if they want to go and check that out. Read up on the spring position preview on the Oklahoma State receivers.
Yeah, so I'll just rip it right off the top. So I wrote this on March 2nd, so I've honestly forgotten a little bit of what I've written at this point. But only 2 returners in the room, and Matrell Lopez and Kim Powell, both freshmen last year who redshirted. Matrell Lopez he's like a bigger, longer, rangier dude than I was maybe expecting whenever he first committed. Just like getting eyes on him in practice, that's been pretty interesting. But then yeah, it's just transfer city. Chris Barnes, the guy from Wake Forest, the speedster, Justin Bowick, the big-bodied guy from Illinois, Miles Coleman, the North Texas guy who was high school teammates with Drew Mestamaker, obviously Wyatt Young, another North Texas guy, and then you got guys like Rodney Harris and Israel Polk from Ohio and Akron, respectively. Yanni Weir is a guy that I'm sort of excited about. Sort of looks like Brendan Presley out there wearing 80 in practice. Speedster, his JUCO film's a lot of fun. And then Terrence Lewis is another North Texas guy. So yeah, like most positions, it's a group that's covered with a lot of people. I think if you're thinking like which of these guys is going to stand out, I think Wyatt Young is probably going to play instantly. It's obviously was a big get for Oklahoma State getting that North Texas trio. And then Justin Bowick and Chris Barnes are the 2 other guys that I think I've got the closest of eyes on. Justin Bowick, like I said, big-bodied guy. Eric Morris actually mentioned in that first media availability of spring that like Oklahoma State's going to use him much differently than he was used at Illinois, which I think is a little exciting. And then Chris Barnes is just an electric factory. Speaking of, the Brendan Presley type archetype, that's really is Chris Barnes. But yeah, I'm sort of interested to see like what the depth behind that looks like. I think it's a really deep room. How does Rodney Harris fit into it? The Ohio guy. How does Israel Polk fit into things? Those are things that I'm sort of interested to find out a little bit more. But I think those 3 names that I mentioned off the top will be pretty heavy hitters come the fall.
Eric Morris mentioned, especially as it related to linemen, whenever he was recruiting guys in the transfer portal, what he looks for and its experience. And this group of receivers that we've got coming in, got some previous career FBS statistics, lots of receiving yards, lots of touchdowns, which you love to see. But Nathan, was there maybe somebody that you saw that first practice we went to back in a couple weeks ago, March 9th, I believe it was, before spring break? Any of the receivers stand out to you?
The 2, first of all, just from a stature standpoint, when you look at Miles Coleman and Chris Barnes together, they look identical if they didn't have different jerseys on, but that's not even like that bad of a thing, right? They are both electric, super fast. Miles Coleman has a ton of experience with this offense and put up a lot of numbers at North Texas, played high school ball with Drew Mestemaker. You know what I mean? So there's a lot there to love. One thing I've really wanted to hear, and you've heard so much, and you watched it on film if you watched North Texas at all, like, yes, Wyatt Young obviously got a lion's share, but they find ways to get guys open, mismatches, screens, whatever that may be. And so when I look, and you talked about like how they're going to use Bullock differently, guarantee you he's not just going to be a post up red zone guy in this offense, right? Like he's going to be getting in his face and one-on-ones and those type of things. I'm interested to see kind of past that first level, right? It looks a little clear cut. We could be way off. You don't know how this all goes, right? But it looks pretty clear cut that like, hey, Bullock's your outside, Z or whatever that may be. You got Wyatt Young running kind of things in the middle, and maybe Chris Barnes is like that bubble screen, that motion, that maybe you give him a couple of handoffs, maybe you give him a couple screens, you send him deep on a couple, right? But the opposite side, I think that seems to be pretty wide open. So is that going to be a guy like a Rodney Harris, or is that going to be a guy like Israel Polk? I think that's kind of, for me, whenever I look at it, I feel very confident that Wyatt Young is going to be starting day one. Justin Bullock will be starting day one. A lot of the Miles Coleman's going to get a fair share of run, and then Chris Barnes, and then, that's kind of what we're looking at here. Is like, what's next? You brought up Marshall, so for me, that's what I'm looking for. I think it's a really deep room, and why would it not be? You turn on the film, you see how much with this offense at North Texas threw the ball, what's asked of them, how many people get open, right? It's not just continually scheming one guy to get open, and so everybody wants to come play an offense like that. One thing I will say, in the first practice that we saw, and coach talked about it a lot, if you do not block as a wide receiver, you will not get on the field. That's a non-negotiable. And that's something I love that Coach Gundy used to do. I can't speak to anything that happened in the last several years, but I know that used to be a non-negotiable unless you're Des Bryant, and luckily Des Bryant blocked his tail off. Like, you either blocked or you didn't get on, because that's how you get big runs. That's how you get chunk runs, is wide receivers blocking down the field. And if you watched North Texas last year, that was a lot of that.
Do you foresee anybody who would be able to block as well as DeMarcus Conner?
No. DC was a golly, he's a bulldozer. He could take on linebacker. It doesn't matter. You dial him up, and DC was the man. Yeah. Nope. Nobody like DC out there. But
it's funny.
Yeah. But no, honestly, that's kind of, I think I'm right there with you, Marshall. It's like, what's that second level look like? And I don't mean second level in a negative way. I just mean, what is that tertiary group of wide receivers, and who's going to step up? Because there's going to need to be guys to step up, right? I mean, that's wide receivers typically don't play all 11, 12 games. That's just the way it goes. So got to have guys step up and make plays.
It's sort of an underrated part about Justin Bowick. So he spends his first 2 years at Eastern Illinois. Then he goes to Ball State, and he starts the first 4 games of the season. In those 4 games, he catches 20 balls for 383 yards and 3 touchdowns in 4 games. And then he redshirted, and was I don't know if they were just like, hey, I'm probably going to go make some money elsewhere based on those first 4 games, or sort of what the process was. But yeah, that's quite the 4-game run there that he had at Ball State before transferring to Illinois. It had 22 catches for like 265 yards and 5 touchdowns. The yardage wasn't that big. You mentioned sort of like seemed like a post up kind of red zone threat. But yeah, I need to dive a little bit deeper into that Ball State film, I think, to see what was going on there.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody does things different. It's in the portal era. You see it in basketball all the time, and guys get into these situations and they're asked, and they do their best of their abilities, but maybe that's not utilizing everything they could be. If I was guessing, one of the biggest sales pitches that Coach Morris and Co has for wide receivers and running backs alike is like, hey, we're going to find a way to get you the ball, and whatever that is makes you the best that you are. And I really am excited to see, because Bowick, when you look at him and when you watch his film at Illinois, and it's like, why was there not more? Like, what? I mean, granted, Illinois was not exactly a passing attack all that much, right? I know they had a pretty good quarterback, but they're a ball control, grind it out, Big Ten. So there's a lot left on the plate for Justin Bogue to go get at Illinois. So I'm excited about that.
Any other parting thoughts on the receiving core before we move on to the next topic?
I think it was a weakness that maybe went unheralded last year's team, just because of everything else that was on fire. Hopefully it's back to, Oklahoma State having top of the line receivers.
I do want to say one thing. Wyatt Young is going to be very good. Like, he's going to be a really good player for Oklahoma State. But I hope everybody's not expecting like Wyatt Young from North Texas to just bump up and pull 250 yards every other game, that type. There's still going to be, like, there is a level difference, there should be. And so I think he's a very, very good player. But I do not expect, like, first team All Big 12, All American Wyatt Young. I expect him to be very good, like really serviceable, be a leader, all the things. But I mean, it's not like it's not like Tylan Wallace is coming over from North Texas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just sometimes I wonder when, like, we bring guys over and whatnot, we have these expectations of like, well, yeah, you're going to come in here and do exactly what happened there. And it's like, let's wait to get there with guys like that. Like, even Mestamaker. Some people were pretty hard on him last year. I think I had like 10 starts in his life. And it's like, yeah, you might have a bad road game against a pretty good, South Florida team or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what happens. And so maybe there might be some of that early on with some of these guys. Like, maybe, he doesn't pop early on or something like that. Like, just give it some time. I think he's going to be very good. But I just hope people aren't waiting, hoping that he's going to come in and catch 2,000 yards or whatever it is.
I get exactly what you're saying. You don't believe in Wyatt Young. Next topic.
That's it. Why did we bring him over? No, I think he's going to be great, but I don't know. I felt the need to say that because I just feel like sometimes it's like, oh yeah, he's going to plug in. He's next best thing. It's like, dude, we haven't won a conference game in almost 2 years, so we'll
start with a couple touchdowns and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
different guys.
Let's beat Tulsa, huh? Yeah, let's beat Tulsa, okay?
Oh my gosh,
let's do that.
I think one of the things I'm looking forward to, obviously, with any kind of semblance of continuity, kind of moving forward with the transfer portal, obviously this new group, I want them to stick around, right? These guys, if they have 2 or 3 more years in college football, I would hope that you come over from North Texas and you stick out the rest of your career at Oklahoma State. We get something going for that. And with that comes the coaching staff. Nick Edwards, wide receiver coach. Is he the next Casey Dunn as far as coaching receivers? Time will tell. And I think if you're going to be at Oklahoma State and you've got the foundation that you've built up over time with all the receivers we've got going, and he can come in and recruit and build up a nice receiving core and continue that, man, I'm excited for him. What a great position to be in. And it's kind of similar to, rightfully so, we're giving David Taylor a ton of credit for what he's done with wrestling. But the guys that are on the staff coaching with him, like, they're not going to get the praise or anything, but I got to give them a shout out. That's like, these guys are in the room with him day in and day out. They're the ones that are making these wrestlers better as well. So I want to give those guys the credit that they're due. And then let's go over to women's basketball, because we've got some activity going on. There's a lot of women who are putting their name in the portal, announcing that they are intending on transferring out. Right after JC Hoyt makes the tournament, gets her first tournament win, get beat by one of the 1 seeds, and now we've got some action happening in the portal, putting their name out there to see if they can get potentially a better deal somewhere else. Maybe they're just feeling it out. Maybe they'll stick around. I don't know what the case is, but Marshall, how's it going following the transfer portal with women's basketball right now?
Yeah, it's not been ideal, I guess you should say. It's easier to say who's left on the team at this point, and that is Staley Hurd, and then Praise. Praise. You guys know Praise. She hasn't announced one way or the other. Staley Hurd has come out and announced that she is in fact staying, but everybody else, like Jaden Wooten, is gone. Lena Girardi, excuse me, Joe Girardi's daughter, announced this morning that she's out. Achol is gone. Who else? Amari Whiting was another notable name that left. So yeah, it's been one-way traffic. The portal hasn't opened yet, so that makes sense that it'd be one-way traffic. But just sort of disappointing to see a team that was so good and had the pieces to be able to come back and sort of make another run at it. It maybe not necessarily materialized that way. Both Steve Lutz and Mike Boynton have made reference to OSU basketball maybe not being in the best NIL space among the Big 12 teams at least. So you sort of wonder if that's also the same thing on the women's side, if that's sort of what's happening here. But yeah, it's a crummy day. But Jay-Z Hoyt is really good at talent evaluation. Lena Girardi, Jaden Wooten, those are girls she recruited that she brought in, and obviously the other girls that came in via the portal. So I have no doubts that Hoyt will be able to turn around and find some girls to come in and play those minutes. But it just sort of stinks that it looked like this. The core of this team was going to be together for another year, and that is all for naught for now.
Your girls are already, man.
Yeah, that kills my dream of Joe taking over for baseball while his daughter was. Just kidding.
You're legitimately sad about it.
No, it just sucks to see the transactional, behavior, relationship, whatever you want to call it. That just is all of college athletics, and it just stinks, because like you said, Marshall, like you could see it. They could see like, hey, there's a lot of really good young talent here, and they're getting a style, run and gun, shoot three. You know what I mean? Like you start building all those things, and now you got to start all the way over again. And I'm sure it's all NIL related. This is just we saw it in football and whatnot, but it's just a microcosm of like, hey, I'm not saying nobody can get paid, but you're killing your own product if it's just one and done every year and it's just all this and all that. Like, no one's going to invest time and money into something that's not going to be the same. I think that's one of the bigger issues right now with our men's basketball program. And
right.
you know what I mean? And it's tough. Especially since NIL has been here. It's like we quite literally have had a new team every year, essentially. Hopefully that changes this year. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to invest. You got to do this. And it's like, why would I? You're just going to leave. It's tough. So there needs to be changes, as we all know. So this is just an unfortunate aspect to NIL right now.
There are still some positives to it because you have a chance to bring in really good talent as well and take your team to the next level. Maybe one good example of that would be for softball, because Ruby Malin came over from, was it Washington?
Washington.
It's been a couple of years, but she's stuck with the Cowgirls, and softball swept Utah this past weekend. Ruby Malin went 4-0 on the week with a 0.78 ERA, 16 strikeouts, and 18 innings of work. So going beast mode. Marshall, any other highlights that stood out to you from that sweep against Utah?
It just sort of seems like, with the softball team right now, their firm path to victory is on Ruby Malin's arm. They've struggled to find a pitcher to, throw consistently outside of that. Obviously, Riley Crandall's, she's had her good moments. She's had her bad moments this year. They've got a freshman, Presley Downing, who's, good for a run around the order, but is maybe not ready to step into, extending that. So yeah, it's been the Ruby Malin show. Like you mentioned, she pitched in all three of those games this past weekend, through the full seven in the opener, and then technically closed the last two games. So yeah, it right now very much seems as this team will go maybe as far as Ruby Malin will be able to take them, which is, not necessarily what you're looking for, but in softball, that is a little bit more realistic than what would be potentially possible for a baseball team. So yeah, I don't know. They need to find a second pitcher, but for now, you'll take a sweep any day of the week. I think some of the girls are hitting better. Rosie Davis is still a rock star with runners in scoring position. It's sort of freaky how good she is in that area. But yeah, they just need to find a second pitcher, and I think everybody will feel a lot better about sort of OSU softball going forward. But for now, Ruby Malin is the rock star that they need, and you just got to sort of kind of keep rolling with that, I guess.
Not a lot more to add to that. I did see one of those. They were down. What was it, like 6-0 or something like that, and came back to win 9-8, or I don't know, something crazy. But Yeah, this is Ruby's world, and we're living in it in softball. So it directly appears to be we are going as far as she can take us right now. No doubt about it.
Yeah, Kenny has mentioned a couple times that he's like so enamored with Ruby's potential, and I think she's a senior this year. So, but he keeps saying like, I can't remember if he says 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 years or something like that. That like that's when she's going to be playing her best softball. Like she's only getting better. She's developing more pitches. So yeah, I think the future is obviously really bright for Ruby, but the present right now is really bright for the Cowgirls for what she's able to do.
All right, we talked softball. Naturally, we got to talk baseball, even though you don't want to. Nathan, I know it's your favorite sport, and they're hurting you right now. Dropped a series to BYU in Provo. I don't know how are you feeling right now about what you're seeing?
Not good. No, yeah, you lost you had 2 walk-offs. One, both of them were with your best reliever on the mound, and this team is relying so heavily on like a handful of guys to get them out of whatever they're in. And if these guys either don't show up, have an off day or whatever it may be, like it's tough. And so, Lund came out and pitched great, and then you pieced it to your reliever, and then he gave it up. But the crux, one of the things that really drives me wild, I love Cowboy baseball Twitter. It's my favorite. I don't know if I've said that before. It's my favorite. But everybody's let's fire Josh and let's do this and let's do that. Because last year was let's fire Rob Walton. That's our biggest problem, and then so forth. So here we are, and I get it. Going to the only last super regional we went to was 2016. Like that's not acceptable at Oklahoma State, nor should it be. But let's not just talk about problems. Let's find solutions. And the biggest thing right now that has to get fixed. Well, there's 2 things. We are feast or famine on offense, and our approach at the plate is it's not good enough. We're leading the Big 12 in strikeouts, and it's not even coming against like great teams or great pitchers. Like BYU is not good. They're not a good baseball team. We got to their starters in two of the 3 games early, and they brought in 2 relievers that came in and threw over 100 pitches and shut us out for the rest of the game. Like that can't happen. Like you can't allow that to happen. You can't just stop and be like, okay, we scored 4 or 5. Like this is college baseball. You have to keep scoring. And our approach, our 2 strike, our 2 out, our runners in scoring position approach has just been less than acceptable. And then on the flip side, once you get past our 3 starters, who have been fantastic, by the way, and then and you have 2 relievers really that have been great, and Stormy Rhodes and Noah Weck. And then after that, it's just like hold on to your butts, Jurassic Park style, and see what happens. It's just not good enough right now. That's plain and simple. Now you're 3-6 in Big 12 play. You'd think, oh well, we got teams like Cincinnati coming down. Cincinnati's pretty freaking good, guys. Like that would have been a tough series. They can hit. They can do all the things. And we don't know how Barrett is going to be. He got taken out early again because of some elbow tightness. So I don't know if I'd expect him to pitch this weekend or not. And there's really nothing good about it. And baseball NIL is not great. And so the way that coach has decided to do it was we've had some good recruiting classes, some younger guys. And, with that comes some expectations from younger players, and it's not working out right now. And I don't think firing Josh is the answer. I understand why everybody's saying fire Coach Holiday. Like maybe it's run its course and so forth and so on. But if we're just we talked about this, like he's one of the more consistent winners on campus. And maybe they've got, I don't know if you guys, maybe it's like a standard thing. Like, yeah, you're winning, but are you winning to the standard that is supposed to be Oklahoma State baseball? And it's like, well, we've got a stadium, and it's like, so does everybody else. Like, stop. That doesn't win baseball games. Okay.
What about I guess there would be an argument that OU, for example, their stadium is
terrible.
Not great.
It's worse. Not great. It's awful.
But they're starting to win at a higher clip. And what's the deal?
Yes, because Kip Johnson is out there putting out first-round draft picks as pitchers, and they're in the major leagues, and they're going right. And it's like, okay, well now we've got Nolan McLean and Carson Benj hitting the opening day home run for the New York Mets and all these things, and then it's like you can't please anybody because then you say like, yeah, well we did this, and it's like, well we didn't win with those guys, so what are we doing? You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, never mind, don't want to bring that up. Honestly, it's really weird because you can win a game and they can win a game, but it's not satisfying. There's like a dark cloud hanging over baseball right now, and it's just I don't really know. Yes, they're not playing up to snuff and things like that, but I really don't see how you could fire Josh after this season, after one poor season. I get it that it's not been up to standard for Oklahoma State, but one possibly season that they don't make the tournament, like you're gonna fire him for a non-revenue sport? I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me. I get it because it is not up to the standard of Oklahoma State baseball, and there's lots of things that needs to change. Hitting approach, I think you need a hitting coach. There's some other things that I would do differently, but I just don't think firing him is really even in the cards, to be honest. But I could be way off on this.
Marshall, what are you seeing from up in the box whenever you're in attendance at O'Brate Stadium?
Yeah, I think I've only been to 2 games this year, so not the ideal time. But I think I'll be there this weekend. Cincinnati series. I think maybe need a new dugout mascot. Need to get a Utopolis going. Need to get Rally Bass. Need some sort of mojo to go live. But sort of speaking to the feast or famine that Nathan was mentioning. So OSU, of the 14 Big 12 schools that play baseball, OSU is 13th in batting average, hitting 257 this year. And then strikeouts, they've struck out 565 times. That is one behind Cincinnati for the Big 12 lead. So might be a ton of strikeouts in O'Brate this weekend. But at the same time, so they're second in strikeouts, but they're also second in home runs with 98 this year. They're behind Kansas by 6 home runs. So that's just sort of shows the feast or famine aspect of it. Pitching, they're honestly doing all right. Their ERA, their team ERA of 4.55 is 4th in the Big 12. So I think pitching is honestly all right. I think it really just does come down to they're striking out way too much. They're also, and this is, goes along with pitching, but never mind. They've only walked 193 guys, which is the 3rd fewest in the Big 12. So I think pitching's all right. I think pitching's in a pretty good spot, all things considered. The bats need to wake up and be more consistent rather than it's a home run or a strikeout like it's Mark McGwire in 2005 or whatever. So yeah, that's sort of where I am on baseball.
Well, it's the Colin Ritchie show on offense. Like if he doesn't do it, nobody else is doing it right now. And they're far too good of players to be having this same approach. And like you can't be looking overmatched by a BYU reliever your 3rd time seeing him. You know what I mean? Like that can't happen. Like that's bad baseball. You're like you've seen this curveball 3 separate times, and you're still like sitting on it. And it's like either don't swing at it or do. You need to figure out like work yourself into account to get a fastball to hit, and then don't miss it. You know what I mean? Like it's just I can only imagine how frustrating it is for the coaches, because I'm a big, at the end of the day, the players do it, right? Like, hey, I don't have the bat in my hands, you do. But there really does appear to be, and has been for years now, and outside of the years that Matt Holliday and Robin Ventura were on the bench taking care of all hitting, there is a paralysis by analysis. Look, I don't, from a little bit that I do know and just the look of it, it's like they're letting the pitches go sometimes that you should be getting after, and then they're swinging at these 2-strike curveballs it's backwards right now. It just looks disjointed, and it's not in a good place. I mean, in the midweek you get absolutely embarrassed by Missouri State. Like midweek baseball is midweek baseball. Like stuff like that happens. It can't be 16-2. Like that can't happen. You know what I mean? Like you can lose to Missouri State. I'll live with it because you're throwing middle relief guys. You're starting and guys are getting 2 and 3 innings here, and like, but 16-2 with giving up 2 grand slams, that can't happen. That's unacceptable.
You've been a big don't read too much into midweek baseball guy, and I figured that really tested that theory.
Yeah, I started looking around the week. I was like, okay, who else lost a midweek game? Nobody lost it 16-2. I'll tell you that. Yeah, no, that was just non-competitive, right? Like that's the part that I won't accept. You can't not compete. That's just not going to work.
No doubt. Well, let's shift over. Before we get to the draft, I do want to give a positive shout out right here for the Cowgirls, Oklahoma State Equestrian. They won their 6th straight Big 12 championship. They dominated all 4 events, it says in this newsletter that I'm reading here. And of course, I had to look it up. I was like, 4 events? I need to dive in, figure out what these are. So they're called disciplines, according to ChatGPT. There are 2 main styles, each with 2 events. Hunt seat, which is English style. Equitation over fences, which is jumping. And equitation on the flat, no jumps. Western is the other style. You got horsemanship, which is precision riding patterns. And then you have reining. So pattern work with spins, stops, etc. So can you imagine being a reigning champ? Yeah, that's pretty cool. With equestrian, I do have one quick story because this is at the time I'm dating Sheridan. We're at Oklahoma State. We're watching basketball together in Gallagher Arena. Probably could consider it a date. We're just watching basketball. They put up, Big 12 highlights. Probably won a championship at that point. And then they were showing, the highlights, which I'm finding out now is like horsemanship and reining and stuff like that. I have no idea what's going on, but the highlights made it seem like, hey, what they're doing is good. So I just, we're watching the highlights and I leaned over to Sheridan. I was like, hey, I think that's good. It's like one of our inside jokes for anything that we have no understanding about what's going on. It could be any sport, but especially equestrian. We see highlights. We're thinking, yeah, I think that's good. So well done, girls. Congratulations.
When I worked at the
well
Ocali,
done, ladies.
When I worked at the Ocali, we had a guy. Shout out Sam Grubenhoff, one of my greatest friends of the era of college. We still talk in a group chat today, but we had him basically learn the sport whenever I worked at the Ocali because we were like, we don't know what's going on, and by that time we had too many. Everybody wanted to come write about sports, and we were like, okay, if you want to learn about equestrian, you can write about equestrian, and by golly, he did it. So that's the only thing I know about equestrian is through Sam Grubenhoff.
Nate, I mean, you know every sport, so I probably just said a bunch of stuff. You're like, come on, man. Like, this is way too high level for you.
No, I mean, growing up around horses and things like that because of my dad being a vet, right? You learn a lot, but I did not get into that world. I saw some reining and things like that and some show stuff and more of the cowboy side of it, but I never got into the equestrian aspect. So no, I actually did go and watch one time, I believe, whenever I was in school.
Good for you, man.
You're now the expert of this podcast.
Yeah, no, they did great. They won. I don't know how the scoring system, but we ended up with more points. So that's
there you go.
Yeah, that's it.
See, and that's one of my regrets, right? You're on campus for so long, you just find time to go to an event like that. And I never did with equestrian for whatever reason. What about, you're around horses and stuff. Did you ever do anything around like horse racing? Kentucky Derby's coming up in about a month or so. Anything like that?
No. Dad smartly kept us away from the horse track. So no, that's not a world for young boys to grow up around. So I did not partake.
The only thing that I know anything else about horses is just based on a quote from Parks and Rec, where she's like, I think Ingrid from Eagleton, she said something to the effect of, never kick a dressage horse after a failed pas de deux. Whatever that means.
What is it? What was the mini horse they loved on that show?
Little Sebastian.
Lil Sebastian. Yeah.
His heart was anything but Lil.
That's right.
All right. We got to get over to this 3-team 6-player draft. I guess I'm assuming we're going to do a snake draft.
Yeah, I've got a wheel pulled up that the listeners and or watchers won't be able to see. But if you want to determine that to determine our order.
Let's do that. And also in the comments, you guys are going to tell us who wins. Like
Yeah.
who would win, whose team is the best.
I'll screenshot it and put it at the bottom of the tweet as well, like our teams. Okay, so here comes the wheel spin. It's beeping in my head. It's going beep 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 beep. With the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 Mike Gundy Era 7-on-7 draft, Nathan Gilsleider, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Nathan Gilsleider has the
Let's
number 1 pick.
Take your boy, get it over with.
This is great. I feel good. I feel good. I feel good about this. I can go so many places here, but I'm going to go with the most influential offensive player I've ever been with, and I'm going with Des Bryant. Des Bryant's my number 1 choice. So I know that's going to surprise a lot of people, but he's my GOAT. He's the guy. He should have been if they didn't take away that year, he should have been up in the ring. So Des Bryant's my dude.
Free.
Yeah, I think that's probably, in OSU lore, just because he had the shortened career, maybe not as well remembered as some of the others, as crazy as that even is. But I think that whenever you tweet out a screenshot and Des Bryant's on your team's looking pretty good. So I think that was an all right pick. I'll spin the wheel once more to find out who gets the second pick. Hopefully it just doesn't land on Nathan again. It doesn't, Justin. You are the second pick. I've somehow rigged against myself in this wheel spin.
Well, you get back to back here in a second.
That's true. I mean, kind of a tough position because Nathan, I assumed you were going to take Brandon Wheaton.
I thought about it. I knew you did. And I was like, oh, we're going to switch it up.
I know your stance on this. Quarterback is the most important position in college football. But whenever you take Des Bryant off the board, it changes things up. And so now my natural reaction is I need to go for Justin Blackman.
Okay.
I'm going to take Justin Blackman because he's the next best receiver, arguably better with a college career, the body of work, 40 touchdowns.
Yeah.
41 if you count his 1 rushing touchdown. What do you have? 3,500 plus yards receiving, just absolutely ridiculous statistics that this man put up. And
2-time Blitnikoff,
2-time Blitnikoff. Maybe could have won a Heisman. That's how dominant he was. Maybe the best college football receiver of all time. So
I knew you wouldn't take Corn Dog, so I could sit with that in my back pocket just in case.
Yeah, of course.
So, all right, Marshall, back to back.
Had to do it.
Yeah. So you guys taking receivers right off the rip was a little surprising for me in the 3rd spot. So I'm going to take the positions that are probably the sparsest. I'm going to take Mason Rudolph with my first pick. I'm going to take Brandon Pettigrew with my second pick because as we learned, tight ends are a premium.
Yep, I was thinking about that. That's good.
So yeah, I've got a quarterback and a tight end off the board. We go back to Justin.
Marshall is the Mason Rudolph stan of this group.
Yeah, I was gonna take him after somebody took, Whedon because I figured that you guys would take Whedon first, and I was just waiting to. Now it just sort of seems like I took Mason. We've gone over this. I think Mason Rudolph's greatest quarterback in program history. We don't have to divulge this any further. But you guys sort of made me pick him first. Is what I'm saying.
Well, Nathan, I'm sorry you're not going to get him. So Brandon Whedon, the actual greatest Oklahoma State quarterback of all time, will be on my team, and I've got Whedon to Blackman. I'm on a hot start, and just going to continue to ride this wave. This is great.
Well, that's disappointing. Thought I could snag that one. I knew he was going to go Mason, so I was like, I'm in the clear. All right.
For that draft order, man.
Well, here's the deal.
Changes things up.
You guys have both taken quarterback, so I don't need to take a quarterback. And I can go
you can pick your quarterback very last round.
And tight end. So you guys are suckers. I'm just going to do that. No.
Well, there is one more tight end out there that's maybe
that's
more
true.
valuable than the other tight ends that would be up for debate here.
That's true. It's a fair point. That being said, this is kind of tough for me because we got so many good running backs, and I'm partial to my era because I think Not saying I'm picking this guy. I think Kendall Hunter may be one of the most underrated players of Mike Gundy's era. Like, guy was phenomenal.
No doubt.
Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna go with Chuba. Nation's leading rusher. Heisman finalist.
Should have won the dope.
Yes, agreed. I agree. And then James Washington still out there. Justice Hill still out there. Okay. I'm going to go with Blake Jarwin. Going to be the other tight end. Looking pretty sparse after that. So we're going to go Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, Justin, you might want to save your tight end pick till like after the draft.
Yeah.
Undrafted free agent.
But I think maybe with my high octane offense, I'm not going to really need much of a tight end based on I'm going to have Whedon, Blackman, and now James Washington. So give me the Oklahoma State's all-time leading receiver with 4,472 yards, 39 touchdowns, deep balls for days. Brandon Whedon is going to zip him in there. I've got James Washington and Justin Blackman on the outside. I could put in anybody at running back, and they're going to be able to do whatever they want. So
relax. There's a lot to go.
This is great.
Here, okay.
Thank you guys for overlooking these guys. Unbelievable.
It's pretty good.
Okay, back to me. I'm going to take Ollie Gordon off the board. Did win the Doak Walker. I'm developing a get off the bus team in Brandon Pettigrew and Ollie Gordon now. That's going to be a not fun team to see off the bus. And then I'm going to get on the receivers. I'm going to go Tylan Wallace for my next pick. So, yeah, I've got Gordon and Wallace in those two.
Solid. My first running back will be Kendall Hunter. He is not underrated in my mind. He is properly rated, higher than anybody else career-wise in the Gundy era. Kendall Hunter with 4,181 rushing yards, 37 touchdowns. You can't tackle him. Can't bring him down. He's amazing.
He was unreal in the screen game. He was so good in the screen game.
Yep.
Guy, he was elite.
Now I do like your pick. I do like your pick with Ollie Gordon. He was like kind of a toss up, but whenever I saw that James Washington was available, I had to go with James. So give me and I've got 3 Bolitnikovs at receiver, and I only have 2 receivers, so pretty cool.
Fair point. Here's the deal: if I was building just off of like how I want my back to look, like from a room standpoint, like actually on the field, I would probably pick Chris Carson, because the Chuba Hubbard to Chris Carson, that would be like the best 1-2, But we're just going to go off production and best players and guys that, again, I thought was phenomenal. I'm going with Justice Hill as my other running back. So I got Justice Hill and Chuba Hubbard as my running backs. Then there's two guys that stick out to me in the wide receiver room. Darius Bowman and Brennan Presley.
Yep.
And with Dez, being that big guy on the outside, I think I just got to go with like the little cowboy. I'm going to go with Brennan Presley. I just love it. I love the guy. He's everything that you wanted. He was so tough. I mean, I'm going with BP. BP is my other one. Yeah. I don't want to call it a knock, but my one knock, if you will. No, I'm gonna backtrack all this, but Brennan Presley had 23 touchdowns receiving. Adarius Bowman 20, and Adarius did it in like 1 year, 2 years maybe. 2 years, I believe. Yeah.
Presley had that for his whole career. The thing is, Presley did it in spite of his quarterback play, so I'll let you have that one. That's a good pick.
Back over to you, Justin.
It's got to be Joseph Randall, I guess. If we're looking at guys that are professional level running backs at Oklahoma State, Joseph Randall's
the men's underwear and cologne. He's probably would have been all right in the NFL for a little bit.
Kind of give me there. Do you still need a running back, Marshall?
I do. I need one.
Okay.
I'm being quiet over here. I'm just going to wait and nod my head while you explain this.
There are other running backs out there that are not going to be taken, but they're still really, really good college running backs. And one of those that I'm thinking of, Jeremy Smith, great teammate, quiet, just did everything that you'd want. Like Dantrell Savage, I would imagine, is probably pretty similar to that. So there's some workhorses out there. Keith Toston. But Marshall, I'm excited to hear who your next running back pick is. It's just, sorry, man, you're not going to get Joseph Randall.
Yeah, I'm glad that you shouted out Dantrell Savage, because whenever we were talking underappreciated running backs, I think Dantrell Savage sort of like starting the Gundy era. Essentially, that's like the first running back I think of when I think of the beginning of the Gundy era, Savage. So glad that he deserves a shout out. But we forgot about a one-hit wonder, Jalen Warren.
Oh, nice.
Is
the one-hit wonder. Yeah, no doubt.
I didn't see Chris Carson getting left. I love me some Chris Carson.
Yeah, I like Chris Carson as well. I've got Ollie Gordon. Do I need my get off the bus team would just be too powerful at that point.
That's fair. That's fair.
And then I need a receiver to fill out my thing. So I'm down between two guys. And since you guys have already picked your receivers, I'm going to fully talk this out. Darius Bowman.
You got two great receivers on either side of you right now. So you don't have to choose between the two of us. Go ahead and pick another guy.
Okay.
We're off the table.
It's between Darius Bowman and Josh Stewart. Those are the two guys on my list. Another guy that was gone too soon, Josh Stewart. Really wish he would have stayed that at least that extra year. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go with the Darius Bowman just because I think that's the right call here. But I did really want to take Josh Stewart.
He still holds single game yardage record, correct, against KU?
300 against Kansas.
300 and something.
Yep, and he's like a CFL legend, by the way, Darius Bowman.
Yes, he is. Yeah, and with some of the more relaxed laws we have around the United States, he would have been an NFL player for quite some time, but CFL was better fit for his lifestyle.
Josh Stewart has some crispy routes, though.
Nobody crispier than Jay Coop, though.
Josh Cooper.
That's honestly, I almost instead of Brendan, I almost went Coop because I was like, but I keep going with guys that I played with, so I was like, we got to switch things up here.
All right, Justin, you're tight end.
You're tight end, Justin.
Like we might be here for a while, guys.
And it's going to be funny because this person is going to be taken before whatever quarterback Nathan picks. This guy's going to be deemed more valuable in this draft than the quarterback Nathan picks. And this is no shot at whoever this tight end ends up being. It's just there was a pretty stark fall off after Blake Jarwin.
You could do Cooper Bassett.
Dang, that's a good call. I might have to do that. How about this? I'm going to pitch this out to you guys, and you can say no, but please say yes to make it easier on me. Would you consider Tracy Moore a hybrid tight end?
Absolutely not.
Come on, man. He's got a prototypical tight end body.
I thought of that while I was
just because he was built like one doesn't mean he played the position.
Yeah, when I was making my draft board, I thought of that, and I was like, "There's no way these guys would let me take Tracy Moore as a tight end," and I moved along.
He's the Y receiver in that offense. It could be a tight end, so that's who I would pick if I can't take Tracy Moore. As weird as it sounds, I would take Josh Ford based on the small sample size that we saw. And just the way, I mean, he's probably going to go freaking be an amazing tight end. Where'd he go? Alabama?
Unhick the wagon Woods? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of weird to say that because we're doing a draft and the guy's still in college. I'm like, oh, but there's a good chance like he could outperform Jelani Woods. So I'm going to go with the risk reward aspect in that. I mean, who else do I have? Like, I don't have anybody else to go for.
I think Jelani Woods or Josh Ford were the picks there, and you made one of them. So
I was going to see if it came down to it. If you guys were going to let me pick Charlie Johnson, because he was offensive lineman when he was the OC, and then obviously he was a tight end, and then went to O-line whenever he played for the Colts. Very good career at O-line, but we didn't have to go there. So it's back to me, and with Corn Dog sitting right there, I can't do it.
I love Corn Dog just as much as the next guy, but
no, for me, comes down to my guy Z-Rob and Spencer. Spencer being one of the more gifted quarterbacks we've ever had, just talent, the whole deal. But he was also a turnover machine and that drove me insane. So that being said, I'm going to go with Z-Rob over Spencer.
I like that you guys, whenever I think Des Bryant, I think Zach Robinson. When I think Justin Blackman, I think Brandon Whedon. You guys took your duos. James Washington was stolen from me, but I digress.
That's it. So I got Z-Rob, a quarterback. I got Justice and Chuba in my backfield. And I got Dez and BP out wide.
And Blake Jarwin.
We got Blake Jarwin on the inside.
Hey, man, points matter. And Zach Robinson got into the end zone rushing wise, maybe passing wise too. I'm looking at rushing stats real quick, but 22 touchdowns compared to 18. So I think Z-Rob over Spencer is not that much of a stretch.
No, I think that was the pick as well. He was on my draft board for what it's worth.
That's what I'm talking about.
I went Mason Rudolph, Ollie Gordon, Jalen Warren, Tylan Wallace, Adarius Bowman, Brandon Pettigrew. I got a nice mix of sort of young and old there. And I got the best quarterback in program history. So easy dub if you ask me.
Brandon Pettigrew is one of the most important football players in Oklahoma State. Definitely in Coach Gundy's era. But, man, that guy was good. He was phenomenal.
Justin, you want me to read your team? I've got it.
So if I can remember, I've got Blackman, Whedon, President Washington, Kendall Hunter, Joseph Randall, and Tracy Moore with an asterisk.
I would have given you
Josh Ford.
You got Josh Ford.
I would have given you James Castleman. I would not have given you Tracy.
That's what I'm talking about.
Whenever I was going through looking at like receiving yardage totals, I was like looking for tight ends, and I was like, D line, who was this? And I was like, it was the check engine light. That was what this was. So I would have given you James Castleman if you wanted him.
All right. Well,
Braden Cassidy.
The point is
to keep it in the family.
Yeah, the point is though, Oklahoma State has some historically great players within the Gundy era, and I would be happy with either one of those teams. I'm just glad that I got mine. So drop a comment and say that I won.
I want you guys to give us the who won and then who was left out that you guys were shocked. I feel like I know who this is going to be, but let us know. In fact, there's going to be a lot more Spencer love than I had. So
I think the Oklahoma State fan base is more Z-Rob over Spencer every day of the week, I think.
Okay. All right. I hope so. In my heart, I let my heart play on that one, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I like this. We'll have to do more of these. If you guys also have any ideas for things we can draft against each other in the future, it's a long off season. We'll take any ideas you got. This was sort of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for tonight. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe to show your support. Keep those pistols firing, and remember to reload. Go Pokes.